Good afternoon. I'm David Horrigan, eDiscovery Counsel and Legal Content Director at K-Cura Relativity, and I've got the honor today of being here with the Honorable Ralph Artigliere, retired circuit judge in the state of Florida. Your Honor, thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Always good to be back at University of Florida.
Indeed, and of course the judge is one of the most distinguished alumni of the University of Florida. I also have the privilege of being part of the Gator Nation. Judge, welcome here, as I said, and have you seen the conference? What's been your greatest takeaway so far?
Well, I think that every year there's just such synergy among the people that come here, and that's what's wonderful. And then adding the student element, and I understand, I couldn't be here yesterday, but I understand they had a great event yesterday with the students, you know, as far as careers are concerned. So, you know, this is just a great opportunity to have the law school environment interact with the folks that are actually on the ground doing things.
Absolutely. Your Honor, you have an interesting perspective being from the state courts, and a lot of times we talk about the federal rules, especially in the e-discovery world, but in state court, how big an issue was electronic discovery in the cases that came to your court?
Well, electronic discovery, I think Shira Shinlin was the one that I first hear say every case is an e-discovery case. So now everything is exchanged, all information is exchanged electronically. So every case is an e-discovery case. But I saw e-discovery, for example, in family court, where you would be doing a domestic violence hearing and somebody would have their iPhone and say, this text message was sent to me. And I had to discern as a judge whether that text message actually was sent by someone who should not have sent the text message.
How did you go about authenticating that evidence?
Well, the first thing I did was ask, because those are informal proceedings.
Sure.
They involve potential danger to someone. And the judge's role is a little bit different. You're trying to get to the truth on it. So the first thing I would do is turn to the other side and say, did you send that message? And every time they said yes. So that was it. But it became a little bit of an issue after I left the bench because of spoofing, because people on their iPhones can get spoofing apps that make it look like a message came from someone when it really didn't. Sure. So it's a little tougher for judges now, and that's one thing that I warn judges about. But so that's I guess a nuts and bolts kind of thing that I saw in the courtroom. But you also had cases in which electronic evidence in many different forms, mostly it started out emails and texts, but it's really expanded to all different areas, just become part of the everyday evidence in court. I teach in the new Judges College. I was there 2 weeks ago teaching, and the judges are just soaking up the information on how to deal with this, because it's a problem to understand and get a good feel for whose ox is being gored, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that you're doing that. Do you find now that a lot of the lawyers, and the judges for that matter, are more sophisticated in their electronic data knowledge, or do we still have a long way to go?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's a judge in Tampa that used to write code. So, I mean, if you're in front of that judge,
sure.
you know, you've got somebody who knows what they're doing. Then you have judges that work really hard at knowing and understanding it. But all state court judges are in the difficult position of having such a broad jurisdiction and keeping up with so many different areas of law. In addition, the Florida Supreme Court requires judges to switch, to rotate. So a judge may be in the commercial division after they've been in divisions that don't have as much electronic evidence.
Sure.
So they have to come up to speed in a hurry to deal with it. So that's a challenge, and judicial education is a challenge because you have to keep up with so many different things. A good example is criminal. If you're a circuit judge in criminal and you have to deal with death cases and all of the law that involves that, all the constitutional issues, and then you have to deal also with the privacy, electronic evidence. I mean, it really is a challenge. So it becomes part of a palette of education, and so you only have so much time allocated to it. That's the challenge of our generation, I think, is educating the folks who are behind the curve, trying to learn about all of this, and it's really difficult. You have less problem with students that come out of Bill Hamilton's class and understand what's going on, or even their compatriots who may not have even taken e-discovery but have lived with it their entire life.
Sure.
When you're dealing with folks of my generation, or even 2 or 3 generations behind me that didn't deal with it from the get-go, it's difficult.
You know, you've given me a great segue into our last question. You talk about educating and the changes that are going on. What are the biggest changes you've seen here at Florida Law?
Well, it's a lot bigger. It's a lot nicer. I mean, the size of the place is just incredible. So that allows, I mean, we had a lot of students packed into a small space, and the classes, especially the first couple years, we had 100 people in classes.
Right.
So the school now, I think, with the size of it, allows, I think, probably class sizes that are more compatible with learning. And obviously the technology is a big plus as well.
Night and day. We used to have these rooms up here that they called the Alpine rooms, because if you were at the top, you were like skiing in the Alpine region.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one kid who brought a laptop, and he was considered some sort of outlying space cadet that he'd bring this computer in. Yeah. You've seen the technology change. How about the students? What do you see when you talk to students?
Let me give you, I have to one-up you on that.
Oh, please do, please do.
In my era, people could type their exam. So they could come in with a electric typewriter and type their exams so that the professors could read them. Those who could type obviously had an advantage over schmoes like me who wrote out our stuff. Yeah. So, but obviously, I think the computer is a big advantage. And what was your next question? I'm sorry.
That was the actual final wrap-up question. The changes you've seen here at the law school.
Yeah, it's just I think it's incredible. I think it's great. I think that they've embraced technology, and for that reason, and I'm really proud of the fact that Florida is at the forefront of the nation of keeping this school relevant and doing the things it needs to do. So
you and
I'm
me
proud
both.
of that. Yeah,
Your Honor,
good.
Go Gators. Thank you so
go
much for being here
Gators.
with us today.
Okay.